welcome back to Friday Film Reviews. I started this series last week where I covered the past 2 or 3 weeks of films that I'd watched, and if you don't know, I'm just basically reviewing all the films I've watched recently. And I did say that this week's video would be a lot shorter and a lot more concise because it would only be 1 week's worth of viewing, but I somehow accidentally, kind of on purpose, watched more films than I've ever watched in a single week, probably ever. So today's Friday Film Reviews is going to be a long one, I know it. I'm going to try and keep it short, I'm going to fail. But I've watched 16 films this week. So yeah, let's just get right into it. The first one is, I've got a list over there, so I've just got to go and check. But the list actually is so long that it actually doesn't fit on the whole computer screen. Rapture-Palooza. And by the way, these are all 2013 films. I'm still on my crusade to watch as many films that were released this year as possible to make my top 20 of the year as full and rounded as it possibly can be. So, Rapture-Palooza. This is a end of the world movie, the third one I've seen this year, and apparently it came out the same month as This Is the End, and it also stars This Is the End star Craig Robinson, and he's in this as the Antichrist, and it's it's about as silly as This Is the End. It's about the rapture. It's a different take on it. I quite enjoyed the take on it. It was kind of cool and funny at times. It also stars Anna Kendrick and the guy who played the main kid in Freaks and Geeks. And I thought, oh, this is awesome. I haven't seen him in a proper role since Freaks and Geeks. Wasn't really that impressed. I mean, he wasn't great, he wasn't bad, he was just kind of there, if you know what I mean. Anna Kendrick was, again, just kind of there. The guy who played the guy's dad, because the kid from Freaks and Geeks and Anna Kendrick were a couple. I should just find all these names. And the kid from Freaks and Geeks' dad, he was hilarious in the film. I really enjoyed him. He's also in the next film I'll be talking about. But overall, you know, it just felt like one simple concept with a little bit of a twist. Well, not a little bit of a twist, a little bit of an added-on bit onto the story that just kind of got dragged out like maybe 45 minutes too long. It felt like it could have been maybe like a good hour-long comedy special or something, and the special effects certainly seemed like a TV special. I would avoid it. Not really good, but I did enjoy it. But it's just one of those weird ones. You know it's bad, and it wasn't like it was just so bad it's good. It was just like it was bad, but you know, you kind of enjoy it. It is what it is. Next up is The Way Back. This I absolutely adored. I loved it. And again, I probably should have remembered some of the names, but again, I've watched 16 films this week. There's this kid in it, and you know, he's teenage, and he's a teenager, and he's going on this family trip with his mum, who's with her new boyfriend now, played by Steve Carell, and his mum is played by Toni Collette. Steve Carell has a teenage daughter, and so it's kind of like a mixed family going away for the summer to this kind of beach house that Steve Carell owns. And his sister is there in the opposite beach house, and her daughter's there as well, played by Anna Sophia Robb, who most people probably remember from well, quite a lot of things actually. I think she's done quite a few things. That film with The Rock, Return to Witch Mountain, Race to Witch Mountain, something like that. The kind of remake they did of the old film. Which I remember in a film called Because of Winn-Dixie, this really low budget film that I saw on TV once I really enjoyed. Anyway, she's all grown up now, and I thought she was good in this. Sam Rockwell also makes an appearance, and he's the kind of the manager, the kind of laid back, cool manager of this water park in the area. And so this kid, the main character, again, I'm sorry I forgot his name, but he goes over to this water park because he's got nothing else to do, and he's a loner, he's an outsider, and he doesn't know where he fits in the world, and especially at this place with all these adults. And really, it's that situation that I found so relatable, in where you get taken away somewhere in the summer or on holiday, and it's mostly people you don't know, and it's really where the adults are having all the fun. The adults are going off and doing stuff, and you know, I probably shouldn't say too much about that. It wasn't as bad as what happens in this film, but I can certainly relate to the alienation that the main character felt in terms of being on holiday, but you have nothing to do, and you feel kind of pushed out and stuff. And Steve Carell I thought was great because I really hated him in this film, and he did a good job of making me hate him. Toni Collette did a fine job as well. Sam Rockwell for me was fantastic. I just thought I just wanted him to be my dad. He was just such a cool character in the film who kind of meets the main character, the kid, and they become friends. And I almost felt like it was a bit too neat that this cool older guy would make friends with him and kind of show him how to open up a little bit and kind of be a father figure that he hasn't got. But you know, at the same time, I guess you could justify it as in Sam Rockwell's character kind of saw a little of himself in the kid. And so the main kid, he ends up working at the water park. It's all very predictable. Many of the beats in the film are quite predictable, but the way it was handled was really satisfying and really enjoyable, even though it was predictable. And then there were some things in there I didn't predict, you know. And overall, I just loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and it moved me at the end as well. It was just relatable, awesome. Sam Rockwell again, fantastic. And there was these two kind of side characters in the film. There's one who works in one of the huts at the water park, and he was just this really weird little dweeby, nerdy kind of character, and he's just he's just such an odd little. Just got an odd face, you know. He's just like a weird little character actor. And I found out he was the writer director of the film, and I was like, that is mental. And then there was another guy who worked at the water park who was a real kind of again a goofy kind of character, and he was also the writer director of the film. I just thought, you know, fair play to them. They not only did they write and direct a really, really good film, they put themselves in it as these really goofy, like doofus kind of characters, I guess you could say. I just thought that was funny, just generally. The Way Back, awesome. Next film I watched was a WWE documentary called The History of the WWE. It was alright. I was looking forward to it. It's about the history of the company, World Wrestling Entertainment. It goes back 50 years to 1963, and so you'd think, you know, oh, there's going to be a lot covered, and a lot is covered, but for me the first 15-20 minutes of the documentary were kind of as good as it got. It was great, it was well put together, an amazing array of interviewees, as always with the WWE documentaries that they produce, but when you get to like the Monday Night Wars, the Montreal Screwjob, it's just like, we've done this, you know. And even Shawn Michaels, my favourite wrestler, he said it best. His sole contribution to this documentary was, you know, in relation to the Montreal Screwjob, he said, it's just all been said, you know, read the books, watch the DVDs. That was brilliant, exactly what I was thinking, and he said it. But you know, if any new fans of WWE like don't know that much about the history of the company, it's a must watch. It is well put together. It gets a bit wanky towards the end, you know, look how great we are now, look at all this cool stuff we do. But considering it's almost 2 hours long, and ECW, who was like a company that was around for like what 10 years, had like a 3-hour documentary made on them that was fantastic. I felt like even though it was 2 hours long, that it was kind of loosely it just didn't scratch the surface. I don't think the bits about the 50s and the 60s and the beginning of the company, and you know, Bruno Sammartino, Vince Senior, that kind of thing. That's the stuff that really interested me. But you know, it was okay. Next up, Now You See Me. No, The Incredible Burt Wonderstone. Guess it doesn't matter, but which order it's in. But The Incredible Burt Wonderstone. I'll go through this one quickly. Steve Carell and Steve Buscemi play these two guys who became friends as kids over magic and kind of came out of themselves because of learning magic, and they're now these big stars in Vegas. And they do this double act. Steve Carell's turned into a complete twat as Burt Wonderstone. You know, he's just all about the money and the girls and all that, and he doesn't really care about the art of the magic anymore. Jim Carrey comes along, and he's this kind of he's like an amalgamation of all the David Blaines of the world, and he just sends them up in great fashion. I thought it was really funny. When they put Steve Buscemi and Steve Carell in a perspex box above you know, the streets of Las Vegas, I thought it was a little bit too on the nose in relation to David Blaine, but Jim Carrey, just, it was hilarious. Hit and miss, you know, he wasn't perfect, he wasn't as good as he was in the 90s in terms of those wacky roles, but I enjoyed a lot of what he did. Alan Arkin's in this, in a pivotal role in the film, and he was the best thing about it. He was really good. I wish he'd been in it a little bit more, but what he was in was great. James Gandolfini played Burt Wonderstone's manager, you know, the late great James Gandolfini. He was good in it as well. Olivia Wilde, she was also kind of a main character. I enjoyed it. It was good fun. It wasn't great, you know, but it was, you know, entertaining enough, I guess you could say. But Steve Carell and Jim Carrey together, you know, I felt like it probably could have been a bit better. But at the end of the film, it was almost like just before the credits, it was just like a little scene added on, so you didn't have to wait till the end of the credits. And it was really like the funniest part of the film. They saved the best gag till last. I was laughing so much. I mean, I didn't really laugh throughout the film, but it was just so funny. And if you've seen the film, then you know what scene I'm talking about. And I'm telling you, it just the way they did it was brilliant, because you knew that's probably what they did, but just the fact that they showed it on screen, it was just genius. I loved it. But overall, the film just okay. Next is Now You See Me, another magic kind of related film. We got 4 kind of magicians who all have different kind of what's the word? Different talents, I guess you could say, in different areas of magic and performing. We have Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Isla Fisher, and Dave Franco, James Franco's younger brother, who was really the weak link of the film. He was, I mean, his talent really wasn't that kind of. He threw cards. That was about it. I mean, he didn't really seem to have as big as a character as the other three, and you know. But anyway, they perform this big show, and all this money goes missing, and it's all part of the show, or is it? And then there's this mystery, and then Mark Ruffalo. He plays this agent who has to kind of figure out what's going on, figure out what they're up to kind of bring them in, you know, nail them, but he can't quite get there, and they keep eluding him. And he's got this French agent who's helping him in the case. He's not doesn't really want her there, but she's kind of forced on him, played by Melanie Laurent, who was in Inglourious Bastards, probably the most recent thing I can remember that I've seen her in. And I thought she was great, and I thought her chemistry with Mark Ruffalo was good as well, because towards the kind of the second and third act of the film, it's more on their relationship and their kind of side of the story than the four performers, although it's intertwined quite well. We've got Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine also playing pivotal roles. Won't go into it too much. Morgan Freeman was more prominent, but Michael Caine was still had a big part to play early on. Now You See Me hasn't been rated that well, or you know, critically acclaimed or anything, but it made a lot of money, and they're going to make a sequel. I'm happy because I thought it was really fun, entertaining, maybe a bit too much CGI kind of stuff with the magic. I felt they would have been better if they'd kept the magic to something that you could believe was actually real. But then there's also a question of whether, you know, maybe there's a little bit of real magic going on in there or not. You know, it's kind of, maybe that was a bit weak to put that in, I'm not sure, but overall I really enjoyed Now You See Me. It was good, entertaining, fun, and wasn't boring for a second. And quite funny as well, there's some good comedy in there. Next, Upstream Color, which is the second feature film directed by Shane Carruth, who did Primer, and I haven't seen Primer, I should watch it, but everyone raves about Primer. But this film, his follow-up, and again, it's a tour de force of Shane Carruth, because he not only stars as one of the lead characters in the film, he wrote the film, he directed the film, he did the cinematography, he did the editing, he composed the music, and I thought the music and the sound design was fantastic in this, and it's such an odd film. It's creepy, it's weird, it's odd, it's unconventional, it's hard to get through. I almost fell asleep twice, which I guess is a bad thing, but I was kind of tired. But when I fully sat down and watched it with a fresh mind, it was just really, really interesting. And it's to deal with parasites and kind of stuff like that, and I didn't really like seeing some of that stuff, but I still was hooked on watching it, and it was just so different, and it looked beautiful. I mean, extreme focus pulling will do wonders to cinematography. And the lead actress, I forget her name, but she was fantastic. She was really good, and she's this woman who gets exploited by this parasite. And we see this kind of circle and the chain of this parasite and its life cycle, and it's to do with pigs, and then there's orchids. It's really complex. I had to read up afterwards about some of the things in the film. And once I kind of pieced that together, I appreciated it even more. But either way, it's an all-out assault on the senses. It's dreamy. It's just something different, you know, and I really appreciated that. I'd highly recommend anyone who's big into film to watch Upstream Color. If you're someone who just watches normal, you know, nothing against you, but if you're someone who just watches normal kind of standard fare, you know, and you don't like branching out to kind of, you know, arty films, then I will probably avoid it. But I found it really interesting, and once I got into it, it was really good. Next is Trance, Danny Boyle's next film, starring James McAvoy and Rosario Dawson. This was a really good one. I was looking forward to it as soon as I saw the trailer, which was really fucked up, and I thought that's a bold move for a trailer. I want to see that film, and I didn't get to see it in the cinema. So now I've seen it, and the music was good. It was very trance-like. Well, not trance, but you know, you felt like you were being hypnotized by some of the music and being taken along for the ride, because it is a ride in which many things twist and change and turn, and you got to try and figure out things. And I was kind of piecing things together throughout the film. There are clues to kind of put together what happens in the end, but I was still caught off guard at the end. And it really just chops and changes, and I think it was pretty cohesive. You know, you could probably pick it apart a little bit, but if you just let yourself get taken away with it, I think it's really good. And I thought James McAvoy's performance was fantastic. Rosario Dawson was really good as well, and there was another guy who was pivotal to the film, but I've forgotten his name, and I don't know the actor's name, so I won't go into that. But Trance I really enjoyed. It was just one of those things at the end where it was like, you know, you just sat thinking for a while afterwards, and I thought it was effective. Really enjoyed it. Next, The Kings of Summer. I think this is kind of a fairly independent film about a group of three boys who go out into the woods and basically build a house and live off the land basically, and live away from home and just do things the way they want to do them. And I kind of saw this film as a bit of a fantasy, to be honest, because not only did it seem quite unrealistic that they would actually be able to build what they ended up building, although it wasn't like a perfect house, but I mean, it just seems very unrealistic, and especially like, you know, the kids go missing, so what, they're not going to get the police to search, you know, all surrounding areas. I mean, I'm sure they could have found that place, but you've got to get taken away with it and let your disbelief be suspended just a little bit. And the main character, you know, he's really the driving force of this idea. He's brought his best mate along with him, and then this really weird kid called Biagio, and that's the only name I can remember because it really stood out. He's a great little actor who played Bonzo in Ender's Game, which I talked about last week. I think he's going to have a really good, bright future in film because he was fantastic in this, so odd and bizarre and off-kilter. Really enjoyed his performance in this. And yeah, so they go out and they live, and there's a girl involved, and I guess it's a coming-of-age thing, and people have kind of criticised online, you know, these coming-of-age films are becoming more and more frequent, you know, and it almost seems like everyone's trying to kind of one-up or, you know, do as well as Stand By Me did, and a lot of people compare this film to Stand By Me. I think you really need to stop kind of comparing films to Stand By Me. Whenever it's a coming-of-age story, they're like, oh, it's like Stand By Me meets this. Stand By Me stands by itself, you know, no pun intended. This one is its own film, and I really enjoyed it. Something really bugged me about it. The boys, or two of them, they kind of start growing facial hair, and it's really patchy and stuff because they're like 15 or whatever. But it just looked so bad. I mean, they didn't do a good job of it. They didn't do a good job of it, and I know what it represented and what it meant to them to kind of grow up and be men, and it did work in that sense. But I just thought like they could have done a bit of a better job with those beards because they looked awful. And again, they weren't even beards; they were just scruff. But it was like a perfect line. There was nothing on the neck or scraggly bits. It was just kind of, it was odd. I thought it was a bad choice. But if the film jumps around a bit as well, we go back to the parents, you know. And when we get back to the parents, it's very much like a kind of a comedy, you know. There's just like some really kind of just pure comedy scenes, and then you come back and it's funny, but it's still a bit of drama there. It's I think it balanced it well, and I was satisfied with the conclusion as well. Overall, really enjoyed Kings of Summer. There's a lot of films I watched this week that I really liked. I'm going to have to try and mull over a lot of my thoughts on these films and kind of lock into place, you know, which ones I prefer especially when it comes to my top 20 list of 2013. But I will say that I think the Way Back, Trance, and Kings of Summer so far will be on there, possibly Upstream Colour. Next is Prisoners, starring Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. This is by far and away the favourite film I've seen of, or no, I wouldn't say it's my favourite. I'd say it's the best film I've seen of 2013. I absolutely loved it. Prisoners was fantastic. I mean, I can't recommend this film enough. Hugh Jackman stars as a father whose daughter's gone missing, along with his neighbours, or his friend who lives nearby, played by Terrence Howard. His young daughter, they kind of went out to play, and they're missing. And Hugh Jackman is on a crusade to kind of find his daughter. Paul Dano plays this guy who, very weird, odd character who doesn't really speak much and may be kind of retarded. He's got a very low IQ level, and he might be involved with where, you know, the girls were at the time when they went missing and stuff. And he gets arrested. Nothing happens. Jake Gyllenhaal plays Detective Loki, who's a guy who I really loved his character. At first, I thought that, you know, in fact, I won't even say anything, but Jake Gyllenhaal, his performance is fantastic. He's got his little tick that he does that could have been gimmicky, but I really enjoyed it, and it hooked me into his character just that little bit extra. And I thought he did a fantastic job as a detective who's trying to find out where these girls went and what happened. And a lot of people are kind of in the story along the way, but it's really Hugh Jackman, for me, his decisions on how to take a proactive approach to finding his daughters where not much is being found by the police, particularly Jake Gyllenhaal's character, and how he takes matters into his own hands and how that affects everything, and the way it all unravels. I think it's like 2.5 hours. It's a really long film. I was not bored for a second. I was riveted the whole fucking time. And I can't remember a thriller where I've been that enthralled with the film. and it was shot brilliantly and acted fantastically. Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal, respectively, both gave career performances in this. I just thought they were brilliant. Hugh Jackman was just raw, and people could, I guess you could kind of almost say he was overacting a little bit in some scenes. There's a lot of shouting going on, but I just felt it was such a raw kind of, he brought such a raw energy to his performance that I just was totally hooked into his character's dilemma and situation and everything. And Jake Gyllenhaal, much more subtle performance, but just brilliant as well. Some great side characters and actors in there as well. I don't want to spoil too much, but go and see Prisoners. Find it any way you can. I cannot recommend it enough. Awesome. Next is The Last Stand, Arnie film. We all know about that one. I'll be very brief with this. It was okay, you know, it really felt like a 90s throwback, and I can't believe we can categorize that as, you know, oh, it felt very 90s, but it really did. Maybe a bit 80s, I guess you could say. It was okay, it was fun. The last half was a lot better than the first half. You know, it was kind of a slow burner until we get to the action. The action was really fun, and spoilers, but whenever you put Arnie mowing a guy clean in half with a massive chain gun, that is going to be a film worth watching. And he also gives this guy a massive German suplex near the end. I was just like, oh, this is amazing. It was cool to see Arnie back in a lead role. He felt a little bit rusty at the beginning. Kind of settled into it, I guess, even though they filmed films out of order. But there's some good action in it. Decent action film. I'd recommend it. Nothing too special. Drinking Buddies. This is kind of a film you can categorize as a mumblecore. You can look that up if you don't know what that is. And I like them if they're done well, and I thought this one was done well. We had Olivia Wilde, Anna Kendrick, Ron Livingston, and someone else. Jake Johnson, maybe? That might be completely wrong. And they're two couples. And Olivia Wilde and the other guy, Jake Johnson, I think, the guy with the beard, they work at this brewery, this kind of weird place where they brew beer and also sell it and do these events and stuff. And you know, they all drink together, and they go away for a little weekend away, and that kind of changes the game a little bit. And then we come back, and it's very much, the whole film was improvised. There was just kind of notes on where to take the thing, and it shows. You know, they were drinking real beer while they were making it. I felt like, based on that premise, the improvisation, drinking real beer while they were doing it, I felt like the film was going to be more impressive than it was. But I did think it was very good, and I did enjoy it. I got quite annoyed by Olivia Wilde's character towards the end, because she's kind of a... I could see certain people in my own life who are like her, who I find really frustrating as people. And I ended up rooting for the guy who I didn't like that much at the beginning. And it was odd, but hard for me to relate, because I don't really like the whole drinking thing, and I don't drink, you know. And so it's hard for me to kind of enjoy, you know, people going out and drinking beers, but it was an enjoyable film. Some really good performances. I liked Anna Kendrick a lot. Ron Livingston was good. He wasn't in it too much, actually. And Olivia Wilde was good. You know, I just didn't like her character that much. So overall, Drinking Buddies, it's a pretty good film. I would recommend it, giving it a shot anyway. And I do like those style of films where it's kind of improvised and the dialogue is more natural. It's not all clean, perfect dialogue. There's a lot of breaks and well, but, you know, kinda. I like that because you feel connected to them, or you don't feel connected, but you feel connected to the reality of the situation, and you can buy it more, and that's when it becomes more kind of, it just makes more of an impact, I think, if you really truly believe in the story that's being shown. Next is The Big Wedding. Kind of a star-studded affair. We got Robert De Niro, Diane Keaton, Susan Sarandon, Catherine Heigl, Topher Grace, a few other people. And this one, it wasn't great, you know. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because it was just a simple comedy film. It knew what it was. Predictable as fuck, but it is what it is, you know. It's quite explicit as well. I wasn't expecting anything quite as graphic as that. There's certain things now I just thought, oh, hang on a minute. It's not nothing that bad, but, you know, I was expecting a fairly light kind of family comedy, but it kind of pushed it a little bit. I enjoyed De Niro in this, and there's been conversation a lot from a lot of people lately that De Niro just does stuff for the money these days. And I liked him in the film, you know, and it was cool seeing him act alongside Diane Keaton, Susan Sarandon, and it was just, you know, it was enjoyable. Robin Williams was also in it, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's not great, you know. It was just, it's just a nice fluff film to fill an hour and 30 minutes, you know. It's just, it is what it is. I feel like this movie would have gone down a storm in the early 2000s. It was a bit too late to the party if they were really trying to make some money with it, which they didn't at all. So bad timing, I think. But, you know, it's not terrible. It wasn't terrible. Next up, Lovelace, the biopic of Linda Lovelace, who starred in Deep Throat. If you don't know what that is, I'll leave you to look that up yourself. Played by Amanda Seyfried. How do you say her name? Amanda Seyfried. Yeah, I'll just say that. I'll just call her Amanda. I know it's not Seyfried as it's spelled. It's Seyfried. I don't know. She plays the titular character, Linda Lovelace. And there's another guy who's quite good who played Chuck, her boyfriend slash husband later on in the film. I'm just going to mispronounce everything now. We had like Sharon Stone and Robert Patrick playing her parents. I thought Robert Patrick was really good in his very limited screen time. He was probably my favourite actor in the film. Sharon Stone I didn't even recognise till the end. I was like, wow, it's fucking Sharon Stone. She was really good as well. We had lots of bit parts in it. You know, Adam Brody was in this. Eric Roberts was in this for like 20 seconds. James Franco was in it as a young Hugh Hefner. That was really odd and weird. Who else was in this? Juno Temple was in it briefly. I felt like the story was very dark. True story, obviously. But there's a lot of conflicting reports. I briefly looked it up online. You know, there's things that Linda said happened that maybe didn't happen, and so whose story do we really believe? And this kind of gives you both. You kind of get the glossy version, and then halfway through we kind of go back a little, and it was done quite well, and we see the darker versions of the story, and I felt like it probably could have been a lot better than it was. I can't put my finger quite on what made it not as great as it was, but I don't know. It was something about it just didn't click. But I thought Amanda Seyfried was brilliant. I thought she was really good in the film. Great performance, but the film itself just wasn't that. Again, just not as good as it could have been. I don't think. But then again, it wasn't a subject I was really kind of really looking forward to seeing portrayed on screen. But I had heard that it was kind of good, so I thought I'd give it a shot. And just felt like it was a little lacking. That's all. I now need to scroll down on my list, and there's only 3 more left, so don't worry, we're at the home stretch now. Killing Season, another Robert De Niro film, infamous now. Robert De Niro and John Travolta play these 2 ex-soldiers who have this kind of confrontation that lasts most of the movie. John Travolta plays a Serbian, and yeah, he's kind of got a skinhead. Well, not skinhead, he's got really short hair, this beard underneath his you know, and he's got this Russian Serbian accent. I mean, good God Almighty, what was he thinking? What was he fucking thinking? I mean, yeah, I'm gonna do a Serbian accent, and it's like, oh yeah, good stuff, John, and then like he turns up on set, and then he's like, oh, well, it was about a 6 month ago. I mean, surely the director must have gone, whoa, John, what are you doing? I thought you were going to do a Serbian accent. I mean, what the fuck was that? Well, you don't like it? No, just do an American accent. I mean, just leave it, because that is gonna no. But no, apparently not. The director was like, yeah, that's great, good stuff, John. I mean, what? The accent was absolutely god awful. I couldn't believe it. It's comically bad. But that being said, I enjoyed it. It was it was a fun ride. And that there was history there between the two that De Niro wasn't necessarily aware of. So Travolta goes out into the woods where De Niro has been for the past 20 years or so, and finds him after all these years. And you know, first they have a little bit of a drink, and they kind of have this conversation. Well, you know, De Niro invites him in, and then they agree to go hunting the next day. And then that's when Travolta's true intentions come out, and it becomes this huge cat and mouse game in the woods, and predictable, I guess. There was this really horrible bit in it that was really graphic, and I just, it was twisted, horrible. But I enjoyed the ride. I enjoyed the fighting between them, and the way it was done. And again, people saying, "Oh, De Niro phoning it in once again, doing stuff just for the money, just for the money." This was a straight to DVD movie. You know, I don't know. I feel like De Niro must have thought, that sounds like fun. You know, like a little kind of cat and mouse film with John Travolta. That would be cool. I don't feel like he phoned it in. I thought he did great, because he really struggled in the film, and there was just a lot of. It was just really cool. It was almost like I don't know, a bit like Rambo in places, and I didn't think it was bad. I really didn't think it was bad. The cinematography was good. it was just John Travolta's accent that really just kind of put a nail in the coffin of that film, sadly. And it will definitely, and you know, justifiably put people off. They really should have done something about that, because otherwise, you know, it was really good. The ending was very kind of by the numbers and just like, really, they could have been a bit bolder with the ending. I thought I wasn't too a big fan of the ending, but you know, it is what it is. It was just a enjoyable film to watch for an hour and a half. Again, you know, you just got to kind of let these things slide and not worry about it too much. Autumn Productions, if you're watching this, he was one who put on Facebook today actually that he's really upset about the fact that De Niro has made shit over the past 13 years. Go check out, you know, Silver Linings Playbook and give him a chance. But you know, I feel like someone like De Niro, who's done so much, you know, amassed a huge body of fantastic work, you can allow him to do stuff like this. I mean, you know, he can do what he wants. He's Robert fucking De Niro. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Killing Season. Next one, Scenic Route. A very low budget film, very kind of a hidden gem. I can't remember why I wanted to watch this, why I put it on my list, and even when I started kind of flicking through it, I thought, oh no, not interested. And so I have no idea why I actually sat down to watch it last night. It's like this film was calling to me. So I answered and I watched it. First 10 minutes I thought, this is pretty good actually. First, you know, another 20 minutes after that I thought, I'm really liking this. And then about 10 minutes after that I was like, whoa, this is getting a bit dark now, what the fuck? This isn't as light as I thought it was going to be. And then this other thing happened and it's like, what the... Seriously? And then it just kept going and I was like, I don't want to overhype this film because I feel like other people would think it was just good, other people will hate it. A lot of people have... Basically it's about these two guys who kind of... They're best friends, they've fallen out with kind of a strong relationship over like the past 10 years, you know, they're in their early 30s now. And on this road trip and they kind of break down. I'll break it up, I'll make it simple. They broke down in Death Valley in the middle of nowhere, you know, one of those kind of terrifying roads in America where there's nothing for miles and they got no water or anything like that. And which is a stupid move. And that's kind of the criticism that people say, that these two people are just idiots for all the decisions they make. But that's life, you know. People make idiotic decisions all the time. That's another thing I liked. I liked the way that it went because it wasn't all, you know, perfect and didn't end, you know, as simply as you might think it would. And again, the whole movie is in one location. It's just those two characters, apart from a flashback and something else. And I thought they really made the most of this. I thought the script was fantastical. The acting was brilliant. Two guys directed this, first-time directors. I really hope that they get more opportunities because I really enjoyed what they did with this. It looked fantastic. The desert kind of environment was really harsh. There were a lot of windy scenes. You could tell it was tough on the actors. Dan Fogler plays one of the parts, and I loved it. I've only seen him in Fanboys, but I love him because of that. And I actually tweeted him today, and I said I'm now going to go and plug Scenic Route like a motherfucker because people deserve to see this film deserves to be seen. Fantastic performance, seriously, great movie, and he retweeted that. His mother retweeted that and favorited it, so that's cool. Just the fact that, you know, you can kind of send out a little tweet and the person who's in that movie gets to see your thoughts, and you know, knowing that he retweeted it, I know that he read that, so that's really cool. But yeah, it was great. The other actor in the film was fantastic as well. It's just, you really need to see it. I don't want to say too much about the film, but I absolutely loved it, and it would definitely be on my probably my top 10 of this year. Really great film, Scenic Route. Loved it. And I could tell you more about why I loved it, but I would kind of ruin things, and I don't want to do that. So I feel like I'm going to get the Blu-ray one day, definitely, and I'll do a full review of it and go spoilers and go all out on it because there's so much I want to talk about when it comes to Scenic Route. But I need to wrap this video up now. So the final film is Spring Breakers, which, you know, I've heard a lot about, everyone's heard a lot about. Finally decided to watch it, and wow, what a film. I don't know if I loved it or if I hated it. I just don't know what to think. It was such a weird film, and I've heard this from everyone. I know people love it, I know people hate it. I'm pretty sure Autumn Productions said he watched this and hated it. I might be wrong about that, so sorry if I'm misquoting you, if you are watching this far anyway. You know, you got what's her name, Selena Gomez, Vanessa Hudgens. You know, these kind of, I think the Disney stuff. You know, the Disney generation. You know, just these young girls who were in kids shows and stuff. And we got these two other young actresses. One of them of whom is married to the director, I think. And they go on spring break. They rob this place because they get money. and they go on spring break, and it's just a huge kind of drug and sex fueled dream of a movie. It's so odd. And James Franco plays Alien, this rapper kind of drug dealer extraordinaire who has all this money and all these guns and everything in the world down in Florida. And I honestly thought that he probably had a bit part in the film, and the advertising was milking his appearance. But from the midway point of the film, he is the main character. I saw it as anyway. And the film is hypnotic. It is mesmerizing, and it is kind of weird and unconventional. I loved the narrative, or lack thereof. I mean, it was such a weirdly kind of edited film, and I really, really liked the way it was edited. I'm still conflicted with the whole spring break aspect of it, because the director really showed you in full detail what, either what spring break is like, I don't know, or what spring break is idealized to be. Just women with their tits out everywhere, close-up slow-mos of women's crotches, and just like their bum cheeks kind of like flabbing around. I mean, it was really kind of graphic without showing you all the kind of nasty, well, not nasty stuff. I was going to say the good then, but I thought that would make me sound like a pervert, and then I said nasty stuff, which makes it, I don't know. You know what I mean. And so, again, and I've had this conversation recently, fuck it, we're 36 minutes in, I'm just going to let this video go to 40 minutes, whatever. I've had this conversation, are sex scenes, gratuitous sex scenes necessary in films? I've never seen one that I've thought that added something. I've never seen one that I thought, oh, that really, that added a little bit of extra something there. And I always feel weird, like, is the director really doing that because he thinks this is artistically serving the story of the film, or is he doing it just because he wants to see someone's tits? It does bug me and bother me sometimes. I have no idea whether the director of Spring Breakers really wanted to, again, artistically portray Spring Break in all its kind of sexual glory, or whether he really was just like, this is going to be awesome, I'm going to get to shoot all kinds of TNA during this film. So, I'm not sure. I mean, Emma Roberts, who's kind of really working her way up the ranks of Hollywood these days, was originally supposed to be in this film, and she declined when she found out she had to do this three-way sex scene. And I think good on her, because again, with Vanessa Hudgens, I just thought, wow, she's really going for it in this film. I mean, like, it was, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about all that stuff, but it kind of went along with what the whole film was about. And then at the end of the day, what is the film about? There didn't seem to be a point to be made, and a criticism has been, people have said that Spring Break is kind of, or the director feels like that it's more profound than it actually is. I don't know if it really feels like it is profound, or the director feels like it's profound, but I gotta say, when the movie was done, when the credits rolled, it was one of those things that kind of sticks with you afterwards, and I really wasn't expecting that at all. I mean, I gave it a watch because I'd heard it was different, and it really was. It was refreshing. It was a refreshing film because it was just done so differently. There was these voiceovers that were done, and they were kind of played back again in kind of different scenes, and the editing was so like non-linear but linear at the same time. Very rarely you'd see one scene play out for longer than a minute before you cut to another part, and you're still hearing the same bit from a scene, and then you see where they're talking from, and it's like an editing nightmare, but it was done really well. I don't know. How do I even describe it? It's like a really weird dream you had after sleeping for 12 hours, and you wake up and it takes you a while to reorientate yourself again to the real world. That's how I felt after watching this. And I thought James Franco was fantastic. He knew he wasn't getting an Oscar nomination for this, but he went all out and it worked. And this is a ridiculous scene set to a Britney Spears song that was just, it's kind of a stroke of genius, I thought. I was taken with it. What can I say? You got to kind of just let it wash over you. It's definitely not perfect. It's definitely not a masterpiece. It's definitely not a game changer. But I really liked it, and I thought it was just, again, refreshing, different, unique, original. And I hate using those words because, no one's seen every film that's been made. And so, this could easily be an offshoot of a whole other subgenre that's already been said everything that needs to be said. I don't know. But for me, it was something I'd never seen before, presented in a way I'd never seen before. There wasn't much kind of depth to it, but it was a kind of like a really enjoyable music video stretched over an hour and a half with a bit of kind of, I don't know, it was almost like a sexploitation film as well at the same time. I don't know. It was interesting. I feel like if it was made in the 70s, it would be like a cult kind of, I feel like it will be a cult film in the future, But anyway, that was it. Spring Breakers. I've rambled enough now. We're at 40 minutes, so I'm going to love you and leave you. If you've watched this long, thank you, and I promise this won't happen again. Next week will be a lot more succinct, a lot quicker. I definitely won't watch as many films. Already planning to watch the 2 Hunger Games films, so you can look forward to my thoughts on those. Again, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time, and I'm really sorry. See ya.
He says he's really cool, but I think he's a tool. Even though I'm sure he's a quite nice guy, really. He's a quite nice guy, really.